Starting.
And then who's going to go and come and slip on the oil? It'll be me. Now, I'm so old that if I break a hip, they take me out back and shoot me. Got to put them down. So, okay, so 2 ounces of oil, and then I'm going to use the scale to measure 2 ounces of flour. And when you're weighing, you got to, get down so you're seeing the arrow after, don't look from up above. 2 ounces of flour, 2 ounces of oil, and then we're going to combine those. Okay, so 2 ounces of oil, 2 ounces of flour. What's it look like?
It look pasty and smooth.
Yeah, or like wet sand.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it looks a lot thinner than this, or like when you draw your spoon across there, it doesn't rush back in. Think of the story in the Bible about Moses parting the Red Sea. We want Moses to get across.
Yeah. Before it closed.
And the Egyptians are going to get across too.
Yes, sir.
But if it just rushes back in there, there's either too much oil, not enough flour. Okay, now you'll see a lot of chefs and recipes might tell you heat the oil, then put the flour in it. Okay, I want you to do them cold, just starting out. So then we're gonna.
Is it supposed to cut down on cooking time if you heat the oil?
Yeah, it will, but how much is it gonna cut down on it? A minute or so, enough to make it a big batch. But a lot of people, if they get the oil real hot and then put the flour in, some of the flour is going to be dark, some of it's going to be light. And our idea is to cook this all at the same rate. And that's why we're going to, they're about, depending on where you get them from, they're anywhere, I've seen them between $30 and $60.
That's it?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what I find, the cheapest place to buy them is at the Asian grocery stores.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and that's where you can also get the fuel for. Yeah, the one on McKnight Road in the North Hills, or Lotus Food and Strip District. So see how we're getting a little bit of a darker color there. And again, constant stirring. Trying not to get any on the side. So if I have some built up, you're not going to scrape. Again, just tap it down like that. If it burns, usually it burns on the side of the pot, because like these pots here, we got a real thick bottom, but real thin sides.
These pans, you
So
can
now
get them
here-
done either, right? I think I see
What's
this.
the smell that you're catching here?
Like a wine smell?
Nutty smell. Yeah, like books will say blonde roux should have the aroma of a toasted hazelnut. When's the last time you toasted a hazelnut?
It smells like
It's been a long time.
Okay. But what's it smell more familiar like?
Like a
Get a
like
popcorn smell?
yeah, like rough cashew.
Everybody knows what popcorn
Cashew.
smells. doesn't
Like
it?
cashew, you know?
yeah.
what you're
Yeah, it does.
looking for. And then we
Deep fried
talked
or-
Yeah,
about
yeah, our fried
how-
dumpling.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then so that popcorn aroma is also when you taste the
Almond butter.
velouté, you should catch a little bit of that toasty nut popcorn like flavor
My chef,
inside the
Like
also.
almond.
this is weaker than this. This is stronger.
Yeah, there's not going to be a big difference
Yeah.
between the two of these.
Yeah.
You know, there will be some.
That
but
probably tastes more like
the
flour.
bigger difference will
Yeah.
be the brown and the white.
Yeah.
As
So,
far as
so the strength, the thickness, the thickness, both of them can do the same. Cause it was
pretty
saying,
much the same
Okay.
here. The big difference, like I said, it'll be between the brown and the white.
yeah, and okay, yes sir.
And again, what you're going to look for, we don't want to see streaks of color. We don't want brown and white to add, but grown a little bit. That's actually gotten a little bit darker
Yeah.
as it sat there because you have all that built
Yeah, it
up
has.
heat in there. So if we're making a brown roux and we're not going to use it immediately, you probably want to stop it a shade or two lighter than you want it to be, because there will be the carryover cooking, it'll get a little bit darker. And if when you're ready to use it, it's not dark enough, you can always put it back on the flame and darken it a little bit. But imagine as hot as this is here and dumping boiling water
Yeah.
in with it.
Yeah, you're gonna be.
That's where you're going to get that eruption.
Yes, sir.
You can put a roux back on the flame and.
Yeah, you can. You have to be careful with it because it's solid now and it's going to, so I'd start with low. And a lot of times when people, like working with roux and they make, like what we used to do at the country club when I worked there is early in the week, someone would make a blonde roux. And then if we needed it a brown roux, we would take the blonde roux, put it in the pot, continue to cook it a little bit until it got to that stage. If we needed a white roux, we'd just make the white roux. But roux, there's nothing in there that can go bad. It's flour and oil, so we can keep it at room temperature. The other thing that you can do with roux, especially if you're making a big quantity of it, is you can cook them inside the oven, rather than having to babysit them on top of the stove. So if you put them in a pot or a pan inside the oven and then just occasionally stir. It's going to take a lot longer, but you can be doing something else while you're doing that. Okay, and then watch, because wherever this pan was, if you touch that part of the table, that's hot as hell too. Okay, so be careful. The heat just doesn't dissipate once we take it off of the stove. Okay, so now for the velouté sauce. Okay, so for that we need, again, 4 ounces of roux and then 40 ounces of white stock. Okay, so. Take a taste of the stock. Let's see consistency. Start. You can see why the cues of the smell are important too, because we're going to call this a white roux, but it hasn't even started to cook, and it looks more yellow. Butter would be the same thing, but we know we're only going to cook it for a few minutes. Now it's not cooking until we see a little bit of bubbling around the edges there. And again, try to keep the sides of the pot as clean as possible. into the corners. Pretty much at that white stage there. Now, if you want to smell that, see if you catch that little bit of
Oh, yeah.
It smells good too.
tiny bit of smell there. Cooked flour. So, yeah, think of pancakes without the vanilla extract
Yeah.
in it. Okay. So now what we're going to do, we're done with the spoon for a second. I'll set that there. You're going to take, and then when you start to pour this in, we don't want to dribble it in there. This is really hot. If we just go drop by drop, that drop is going to
splash.
immediately evaporate, causing a little lump. So we're going to pour and whisk at the same time.
And why a whisk and not a spoon?
So you can really incorporate it
Yeah.
in there and break it up and not have lumps in there.
And now, chef, we are thickening the stalks with the roux. We're thickening the.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the 4 cups. The whisk probably can't get into the corners of the pot either. So now we're going to get the wooden spoon and go into the corners and see if there's, see how we got some roux out of there. So then we'll get that back in there. You can see now how it looks like it's separating a little bit. Just a little bit of, okay? And that's going to do that until it starts to come up to a simmer. Now, you might be using a smaller flame when you're making the roux, because you don't want it to burn. But once the liquid is in there, it's not going to burn. So then you can turn the flame up high. Once it starts to come to a simmer, we don't want it to boil. We want it to be at a light simmer. So then you'll turn it down. Different stages of heat for different stages of cooking. Now also then we'll need to season this. A little bit of salt and pepper. When should we season it?
At the end.
Why?
Because you may have other stuff that you added to the sauce already.
Not really that. What's that? Yeah, because what do we need to have happen? It needs to reduce. Okay, we have 5 cups in there now. We only want 4 cups to finish. So if we season it perfectly now at 5 cups, by the time it reduces to 4 cups, probably going to be too salty. Yeah. So close to the end. And mother sauces too, we will season them, but typically they're not seasoned to the point that we would the sauce we're serving to the guests. Because again, whatever we do with this, there will be a little bit more reduction added to it.
Would it have the same effect if we reduce the seasoning instead of the...
What's that?
Would it have the same effect if we reduce the seasoning instead of the sauce? Or the...
Well, yeah, we could reduce it, but I think it's a better practice to wait until close to the time you're finished with it and ready to strain it. And the other thing, you know, we said between 15 and 20 minutes simmering. Doesn't know how long it's been simmering. Okay, the true measure of when it's done is when it's at the consistency that we want it to be at. And maybe for different things, that will be thicker for one, like if we were going to use it as a binding agent, we would want it thicker than if we're using it for a sauce that we're going to top something with. But we're usually talking about thickening the sauce for what's called a nappe consistency. And then when we get to that point, I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so while we wait for this to come up to a simmer, what I want you all to do is go back to your tables. We can get like 4 people to a table there. And then each person get a cutting board and the mat that goes underneath the cutting board. It's uniform.
I got a chef, but you know what? The bus, they were doing some like thing on the road and stuff, so I was late getting in. Cotton board. I gotta wash your hand. Oh man, I leave my knife set. I forget, bro. These are right.
Thanks for reminding me.
Here I go.
Look inside. There's mats. Down there. And then there might be some.
What's your favorite look for? What do you want?
What do you want?
I don't know. He said look inside the drawer or something, so I was looking. I don't know what he's saying to look for. Put this up. Shit, I gotta find somewhere to put these. I gotta move them. Bro, I leave my knife.